would be tragic would be to have another shutdown of the government. These guys are working at a really nice pace, and they were really moving out. They were doing all kinds of things on the vehicle when we told them they couldn't come in this building for 16 days. That's not good for any program. So we can't afford to do that again. So my hope is that we will help convince the Congress and the administration of how critically important it is to keep the government going so that we can stay on pace for next fall for launching Orion. Anybody else? Okay, Lisa says that's it. Thank you all.
In the end, these robotic missions are all about people doing science. And the last time I checked, being a scientist, these people tell me I am human, as are the other people on the science team. This is an incredibly exciting event for NASA, for our partners, and will be a great event for ULA launching us to Mars. And to tell you a little bit more, I'd like to introduce another Martian, another human, and a fellow astronaut, Charlie Bolden, NASA Administrator.
Thanks very much, and thanks again for, I see you all again, the same crowd. And as I sort of prefaced when we were overlooking at Orion, the big thing about this weekend and tomorrow is the fact that we are going to take this beast, and tomorrow it'll begin its 10-month journey to Mars. Hopefully all of you understand that MAVEN is one more step in our journey toward putting humans on the surface of Mars. And it is a very important step because it's going to help us to understand much more than we have ever understood before about Mars's upper atmosphere. We really do believe that at one time Mars was a planet that not much unlike Earth is today, and we want to know what happened. What happened to its atmosphere? Did it get scraped off or cooked off or what? And so MAVEN is going to help us understand the interaction of the sun and with the Martian atmosphere, and hopefully will answer some questions that have long stood in the minds of people like John refers to as Martians, Earth Martians. The other thing about MAVEN is that it will join an already present fleet of orbiters. It'll join the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter and Mars Express and others, and in supporting our vehicles that are on the ground. Everybody knows about Curiosity, but also Opportunity is still churning. And so again, another important step in the leading toward the 2030s when we eventually put humans on Mars. A couple of people I want to just recognize and who are not here, as a matter of fact, and one of them is the principal investigator for MAVEN, who's oh, you are. Thank you very much. In fact, he gave me his pen, as a matter of fact. The team is led out of the University of Colorado, and I had the privilege of being with them at a University of Colorado function in D.C. 2 weeks ago, I think. The thing I love about them is they have a lot of fun. They're very excited about what they do, and they make it real. They make it very understandable for a layman like me. So congratulations to you and the team. Thanks very much for everything that you've done. John has already mentioned our ULA partners who are going to send us off the planet tomorrow, and that's going to be very, very important also. So again, thanks to all of you for coming out. Hopefully you will have a good launch. We will have a good launch tomorrow, and we'll be off on an incredible journey to Mars, helping us get humans there by the 2030s. Okay?
We've been getting ready for this for 10 years. Since we started the idea, we had to compete. And people have been asking me all day today what I feel, what it's like. And the only possible answer is I'm just beside myself. I have every emotion going through me. To see this rocket behind us ready to go, to know that the spacecraft is inside, even though we can't see it right now, and to see the team members who are around here who have just put incredible effort and devotion into making sure this is going to work. It's an indescribable feeling. And to look around and see the launch vehicle people, the launch services folks, Kennedy, all the people from NASA, the support we've gotten has been incredible. And all I can say is, hey, we're going to Mars.
Ron, thanks. Jim Sponek from United Launch Alliance. I tell you, the ULA team is thrilled to be one of the Martians helping this mission go to Mars tomorrow. Unlike Bruce, who spent 10 years on this, the ULA team has spent about the last 3 years integrating this spacecraft onto the rocket and designing the mission profile that will be flown tomorrow. Our team has designed and developed and tested over 1,000 trajectories to cover the various times that we could be launching over the next several weeks. And we're excited to be here just 2 years from the same launch pad the MSL mission was launched. With the launch, about 52 minutes after liftoff, the MAVEN spacecraft will be traveling 24,000 miles per hour well on the way to its 10 months journey to Mars. So we're just thrilled to be here and part of the MAVEN mission. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Amanda Mickiewicz, Program Manager for NASA Launch Services, and our job in NASA is to bring the spacecraft and the launch vehicle folks together. So we started working on the MAVEN mission about 6 years ago with the team as they were putting together their mission, and then we put United Launch Alliance on contract to get them their ride to space about 3 years ago. So I think Bruce's enthusiasm and the team's enthusiasm is so infectious, it makes us all want to be part of this mission. And I kind of feel like if it was just sheer willpower that would get this rocket to Mars and get MAVEN to Mars, we could probably get to Mars tomorrow. This team is incredible and they've done a great job. So we are really proud to be part of the team and we're ready for launch tomorrow.
Obviously, you can tell this is a big team effort. And the MAVEN spacecraft was managed out of the Goddard Space Flight Center. And no mission really can do well unless it has great leadership. And so with that, I'd like to introduce Dave Mitchell, the project manager for the MAVEN mission, and one of our great leaders.
Thank you all. It's my heart's pounding right now at this point to be here, and to quote a Hall of Fame football coach, where else would you want to be but right here, right now? And that's the way I feel. This is the culmination of years of effort. I've got to say, with the University of Colorado, the Goddard Space Flight Center, Lockheed Martin, Berkeley, Jet Propulsion Lab, United Launch Alliance, the KSC folks here in the U.S. Air Force. What a team effort. And I applaud the team for getting us here, but of course we're just starting our journey now. But it's a great job by the team and the sacrifice by the families. Thank you all, and let's hope for the same kind of weather tomorrow. So, thank you.
And Bob, and welcoming all of you down here. And I think everybody knows we came down this weekend because we're going to do a big launch tomorrow. We're launching MAVEN. But right now, this was an opportunity for me to come and take a look at Orion. And the thing you should understand, this is not a mock-up. This is the real flight vehicle that we're going to fly next fall, and so it's a very exciting time for us. Everybody up in Washington always talks about stuff like this, but when you get an opportunity to come down to a field center where you see real live hardware and you have an opportunity to talk to the techs who are doing the work and actually putting it together, and it's sort of, if you get a chance to talk to any of them, it's sort of like they're talking to you about their kids or their child. You know, this is theirs, and it's very reminiscent of the fever pitch of trying to get ready for a launch back when we were still flying shuttle. So this is a very exciting time for us. I had an opportunity to crawl into the vehicle and look at its condition right now, and I have to admit, I am quite surprised at how far along we've come over the period of time since I was down here the last time. I think they may be planning to show you some stuff, but down at my right, you can actually see where we've got the tile being already put onto the back plane that's going to actually mount on the vehicle. So it's a great time to be down here, and the message to you is we're making steady progress, and we're looking really good toward a launch next fall, which is going to be very exciting because it's going to signal that we're almost ready to put humans back into deep space, much more distant than low Earth orbit, where we've been operating on the International Space Station for the last 13 years. Again, it is important that we take little bitty steps tomorrow afternoon when we launch MAVEN. That's another little bitty step toward getting humans on Mars, and that is a very important objective for this agency. With that, I think I'm going to be quiet. I've got a lot of people here who can answer your questions, and I will point to them since you probably want to know details, and I will point to the people that can give you details. I've got John Grunsville, who John heads our Science Mission Directorate, so tomorrow is his day with MAVEN. We've got Mark Geyer and Cleon Lacefield representing Lockheed Martin. So I think with this conglomeration of people, we hopefully can answer all the questions. So you get the first question since you're from New York.
Okay, so I'm curious. I'm Miriam Kramer. I'm with Space.com, and I'm wondering what is the next step for Orion? What are you working on right now?
Well, I tell you what. Let me tell you. I'll let Mark, who's the program manager, tell you what the next step is physically here. My next step for Orion as the NASA administrator is to go back to Washington, go back to Congress and say, look, we are making steady progress. We are delivering on the things that we said we were going to do. Vehicles looking really good, and we need your continued support. That's my job, is to go back and make sure that we continue to get support of the American people, actually the international community, because this is, if you look right behind me, this is only a mock-up, but the middle part in there is a replication of the service module that's going to be provided by the European Space Agency. So some of you who have been seeing me for years now know that I always talk about the fact that when we go to deep space, we're not going alone. It is a true international effort. Mark and his team, along with the folk from Lockheed Martin, I probably said Mark was from Lockheed. Mark is NASA. He's the program. You all knew that. But what they have been able to do since we inked an agreement with the European Space Agency is Cleon and the folk from Lockheed have taken a look at how they were planning to put Orion together as a deep space vehicle and how they could work the Europeans in with their service module instead of one that's made here. And I think they've done an incredible job. So I guess I defer to the two of them to tell you what's the next thing in terms of hardware progress. But I'm looking forward to getting continued cooperation and support from the Congress and from the American public. Okay. You want to
You said it. All right. He said it. So EFT1 is next September. That's the next step, and we'll fly that crew module and this service module structure and the fairings and the launch abort system on top. Will fly 3,000 miles and test critical systems. So that's the big next step. And Charlie already said for EM1, which is when we're on the big rocket on SLS, we're working that design in parallel with this flight, as well as working with the partners on providing a piece of the 2017 flight.
Yes.
Charlie, question for you. I understand you were in Orion earlier today.
Yes.
What was that like, and are you the first Orion astronaut?
I would love to be the first Orion astronaut. Unfortunately, that won't happen. For me, it was great, getting in and having an opportunity to lay in what I was imagining is the launch position, since it doesn't have seats and it doesn't have closeout panels and everything, but it's very reminiscent of coming down here and crawling into a vehicle while it's being prepared. And then, this is crawling into that one and laying down on what are just some boards right now. It's sort of like coming down for TCDT when the vehicle's on the pad. I'm excited for the young people, and I mean young people because they're a lot younger than I am, who are actually going to get an opportunity to fly this. And I think all of you are aware, just this year, we brought in 8 new astronauts. I am always proud to say it's 50-50 men and women, which has never happened before. Since this is November, the month that encompasses Veterans Day, a number of them are, as always, from the military. And so, once again, the NASA military cooperation is always there. It has been since the very beginning. And, following up on a week when we lost a historic icon like Scott Carpenter, it was refreshing for me to have an opportunity to get in a vehicle and think about what guys like Scott, the original 7, and then everybody coming on through the subsequent programs made it possible for us to be doing. So I kind of stand on their shoulder, and I'm now waiting for some of the new folk to be able to say they stand on my shoulder as we do this thing.
Thank you. Charlie, Rob Perlin with Collect Space.
Yeah, Rob.
Working off, you're just saying about an historic icon. This week, America's going to be looking back at Kennedy's legacy, given the anniversary of his loss. How does Orion fit into Kennedy, what Kennedy set out for the nation, and in the larger sense of returning humans outwards?
You know, let me give you my perspective, because I don't want, President Kennedy deserves an incredible amount of credit for his vision and courage to say the nation is going to go, we're going to send humans to the moon and bring them back. In all candor, you know, I'm not sure that he ever envisioned that humans were going to go to Mars or other kinds of things. When President Obama stood down here and said, you know, we're going to put humans on an asteroid by 2025, and then we're going to send them to Mars in the 2030s with the intent of landing. To me and to everybody, and a message I need to get out to everybody, this is not a touch and go we're prepping for. We're talking about sending humans to another planet for the purpose of living there over long periods of time. You know, we've lived and worked on the International Space Station now for 13 years, and if it could stay there forever, we'd probably be working on it. So we'll be working on some other stations in the future. But Mars is a planet like Earth, and as we learn more and more about it, and John spoke, make us comfortable that we can live there for long periods of time, the purpose is to inhabit the planet Mars. So that's, I think that's the vision that this president has, and that's the charge he's given to us and NASA to make that happen. And I think we can do that. Okay. Yeah.
Quick question. Of course, you're a flown shuttle astronaut. Now, you went inside Orion today, and you know a little bit about the insides therein. Can you give us a feel what your impression was coming from shuttle, working on that, as opposed to the interior of Orion?
You know, there's no comparison, to be quite honest, because they have totally different purposes. Orion is a vehicle that is built for deep space exploration. It is not built to take somebody on an 8 or a 9-day mission and then bring them back to Earth, you know, transporting back and forth. That was shuttle's purpose. And people, I think, had a very difficult time understanding why we finally made the decision that it was time to phase shuttle out. You know, Orion is built to go to deep space. And it is an exploration vehicle. So that was the biggest difference to me, psychologically and mentally. And since I wasn't here during the Apollo era, I have no idea what the inside of an exploration vehicle could look like. So I had to sit there, you know, and use my imagination as to what it's going to look like when it does have seats in it and panels and everything else. And that was pretty exciting. You know, it's sort of like being a test pilot at the very beginning of a program when you're in the formative stages and you're trying to figure out, okay, what's this thing going to look like? What should it look like, and what can it do? I just had all kinds of things running through my head about ergonomics. You know, is this going to fit right, and is this going to feel right, and all these kinds of things. Now, these folk back here, they probably think of something totally different. Bob, having been a test pilot, and John being an experienced scientist and astronaut, and been inside Hubble a number of times, he probably thinks about something totally different than I do. So you might ask them.
Thank you.
Anybody else before we